Well, good evening. How are you?
Hello. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How was your New Year so far?
It's okay.
Yeah?
It's okay. Business is weird with this new COVID variant, so lots of juggling of my schedule, but
Yes.
we'll get through it. How
Yep,
are you?
for sure. I'm doing great, thanks.
I,
Yeah, it's good to see you again. And
Me
we
too.
also want to welcome everyone that's joining us tonight as well. So, welcome everyone. So Amanda, we are here for Cannabis Live tonight, and tonight we're going to talk about cannabis in kids. This is a really important subject. I'm so excited for you to share some information with our followers, with some of the experiences that you've had, and that you've heard of, and some of your education as far as that. I'll share a little bit as well, and also some amazing testimonials from some individuals as well. So I'm really excited to get started. But first, how about we do a little introduction?
Yeah,
You want
you go first. I
to?
always go first.
I will. I'll go first. All right. So my name is Heather Kreider. I am the co-owner of Hempfield Botanicals and also Hempfield Apothecary, which will soon be opening up in Lancaster downtown, which is a huge, beautiful cannabis hub area for people to come and congregate and learn about cannabis and learn how to cook with it and learn how to use it. And we'll have presses there and all this fun tools that you'll be able to use and come in and really embrace cannabis and learn about it, and all of its wonderful properties. So I'm super excited about that. Yay! That will be coming very soon, this spring for sure. So a little bit about me and personally quickly. I am a registered nurse in the state of Pennsylvania. I am also a licensed esthetician as well. So skincare, wellness is as part of my background. I am a huge cannabis advocate, and I'm also a medical marijuana card holder in the state of Pennsylvania as well. So I have a lot of passion for the beautiful green plant that we're going to be talking about tonight. So that's a little bit about me. How about you?
Yes, so thank you. So I'm Amanda Hughes. I am in Texas. Heather and I connected I don't know, 3 years ago-ish,
Yeah.
something like that, through the spa industry because I'm also a licensed esthetician. But then we figured out we were both also in the cannabis space and just total plant lovers.
Mhm.
I am a cannabis educator and an herbalist and a licensed esthetician, a spa owner. I'm in Dallas. I'm in Texas, so I'm also an activist because we have lots of work to do here.
Yep.
So I'm really the topic that we picked today, I think, is kind of a brave topic for us to discuss. Um, Not that we haven't gone brave before, but I think this is another one. And I want to mention because I think people they like to see stories. They like to understand how this has affected and impacted people personally. So I'm right now. I want to go ahead and mention "Weed the People" with Mara Gordon and "Weediatrics." They're two really good documentaries, and both of those have a real big focus on children. So I think that those are good ones. I also recently the CNN Sanjay Gupta does a weed series. It's literally called Weed, and he just
Right.
did part 6. I think it's been going on for a couple of years, and part 6 featured a story about a family here in Texas, the Zartlers, who are also in pediatrics. But um, I think that to sort of connect this topic to a human face and children really drives home the message of how important this plant is, because I think it's one thing to be concerned about your own health and try to do what's best for yourself. But when it comes to our kids, there's literally nothing that you wouldn't do. So knowing some of these stories really, I think a lot of people that if you're a parent or even just love children, you'll really relate to it. Um, yeah, and there's a lot of organizations that support parents of children that use cannabis and also parents that use cannabis, and there's a stigma there. So
Yes.
Canna Moms was one.
Yes.
You sent me an article a while back. That's a good one. There's Cannabist and Canna Mommies. There's several. Then those are more centered around using cannabis as a parent without the stigma. And there was a really cool study that was linked to one of the articles you sent me that said 67% of parents said that using cannabis in lieu of alcohol or some pharmaceutical anti-anxiety medications, 67% of them have chose cannabis and said literally it makes them a better parent.
That's
So, so it's really nice that, you know, people, you see all these articles about like weed moms and things like that instead of wine moms, and how, you know, we see the funny memes that say, you know, instead of saying mommy needs a glass of wine, why can't you say mommy needs some cannabis? So I think there is a great portion of parents and parents of children that use that are trying to kind of squash the stigma. You hear a lot of talk around children from prohibitionists. That seems to be like their go-to for being against this plant. So that, you know, they'll say things like people that use cannabis just for medical purposes aren't using it. There's no medical purpose. They just want to get stoned. And I have always said my rebuttal to that is always, okay, well then what about the kids? Why are people using this on children?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's got to be some medical purposes there, or we wouldn't be using it on children. Nobody is using cannabis on their children just to get their children high. They would have no trouble accessing pharmaceutical drugs if that was what they needed. So many stigmas around the plant and how they tie it to children, only just not with any actual statistics. So what's one like legalizing cannabis will make the children illegal use go up, that teens will use more cannabis, and really statistically in legal states it's gone down.
That's
because a lot of that is due to education, just understanding it more. And also, you know, if using cannabis was something bad to do or attention seeking when we were teens, if you're in a legal state, it's really not that big of a deal anymore. And so sometimes it can lose the appeal. And to that, I also say, I mean, legal or not illegal, kids have no problem getting cannabis now. When I was a teen in the 60s, in the 70s, I mean, it's not going away. So to make it legal, at least we're talking about most of the time a regulated product. So
yeah, and I feel like if we start using it as and thinking about it and getting it out of our heads as a drug, an illegal drug, and treat it as medicine, we have to change our thought processes. When that happens, things will move forward a heck of a lot better for individuals. For sure.
Yeah, changing the stigma around it, and like I said, I really think that is done on personal testimony and sharing stories and conversations, and being open about your cannabis use, and you know, supporting people that you know use it medically. It's I do love like the older generation, like the boomer generation is the fastest growing demographic. And I think that's interesting because they're the original, you know, well, not the original prohibitionists, but they're children of the original prohibitionists. And then they, you know, reignited it in the 70s with Nixon. So I think that helps having an aging generation that's now open to using cannabis. There's just so much stigma around the use for children, and that's such a difficult thing to battle, because if someone comes at you and says, well, what about this with kids, it's very difficult to sort of debate that and not look like you don't care about kids, but it's just not that simple. Even like do you remember hearing that THC triggers schizophrenia in teens? Do you remember hearing that? So it can trigger schizophrenia in teens that had a genetic predisposition for schizophrenia. But again, that is not an argument against medical marijuana use. That's just an argument against recreational use for minors.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Exactly.
I don't want minors to use cannabis recreationally in excess,
Yep.
Especially if they have a genetic predisposition for mental illness. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about literal medical use.
Correct.
And a lot of what a lot of what you hear, I think what people hear most about is that cannabis in children is used for seizure disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely, it is used for that. It's also used for autism spectrum, and especially like self-injurious behavior, which was featured in that Pediatrics documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and intractable epilepsy for seizure disorder. So seizures that they know the cause or suspect the cause, and intractable mean like they've already had to try pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
One thing I just learned was that 1/3 of patients don't respond to big pharma drugs for epilepsy.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a
And
lot.
what is the doctor saying? Oh, well, we've tried everything. And then
Yeah.
every time, yeah, what are we going to do? So to have these options, have the plant as an option is really essential. I think a lot of the pushback comes from, we don't know everything about this plant, right? And so sometimes people might use the wrong cannabinoid or the wrong combination. If they're working with a caretaker or a doctor or someone more experienced, hopefully then that won't happen, or they'll know how to change and modify the program. But we don't have legal access we don't have federal legal access to do those studies. So it all starts, I think, yeah. And I know that this is all kind of, I'm preaching to the choir because that's why we do Cannabis Live,
Yes.
right? To sort of eliminate this stigma.
Exactly.
It's
Mm-hmm.
the what was the term? Neuroexcitatory conditions.
Excitability, like excitability.
Yeah. So neuroexcitatory conditions are something that cannabis is very effective at treating. And we know that because of the endogenous cannabinoid system, right? Your body, your brain, the receptors, especially in that central nervous system, are really there to give you endogenous cannabinoids to help modulate and balance excitability or lack of interest or anything that you're feeling too much or too little of. It's there, your system is there to give you the balance. So it makes perfect sense that cannabis would be treating these excitatory conditions, right?
Yeah.
Like seizures and ADHD and Tourette's and
Yes.
on and on.
Yeah. So just so you know, you mentioned you're in Texas. I'm in Pennsylvania. I know we have a lot of viewers from Pennsylvania. So just to let everyone know, you do have to have a medical condition, an approved medical condition on the PAMMJ website to be able to get medical marijuana. And those conditions that would, I mean, not the only ones, but most of the ones that we're talking about a lot tonight are, like Amanda said, the spastic movement disorders, the autism, epilepsy, intractable seizures. So those are all on the approved medical list or approved condition list for medical marijuana in Pennsylvania. So that's definitely something to look into if it's an interest to someone that someone's having those conditions.
Yeah, and it's not just those neurological conditions.
Yes.
I mean, it's GI issues
Yes.
and other issues as well. Pain, sleep, cancer related
Yes.
conditions, and cancer treatment related conditions. I mean, can you imagine having a child that is going through cancer treatment and it's making them nauseous on top of it, or they have anxiety, and so to have this as an option without unwanted side effects. If you have unwanted side effects, you just adjust your dose. But
Yep.
it's a safe drug. So in spite of being a Schedule 1 drug defined as no medicinal use and a high possibility of addiction, it's neither of those things. It's very well tolerated. It's very safe. You might take too much. Your child might be given too much, but nobody's going to die.
Yes.
You can't
Does
say
not.
that about most. You can't say that about a lot of pharmaceuticals that give you the same effect. One thing that I think is interesting with kids is how very careful people are with how they're administering it to children, right? It's not just, oh, your kid has autism, have them smoke some weed. It's not like that.
No.
They're very rarely and frequently inhaling it, except for like urgent needs such as injurious behavior or extreme pain. Most of the time it's an oil or a non-alcohol tincture.
Yep.
Most of the time it's that, because then you get the dosage. You can get the dosage really precise, and you can hide it in food. So
Exactly.
that's convenient.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think one thing that, and I know that you're a plant nerd like I am, so one thing that I think is really cool is if it has such an incredible effect, the plant has such an incredible effect on neurological conditions and behavior and imbalance, just like essential fatty acids do, right? So essential fatty acids have that same neurological nourishment. And what's really rich in essential fatty acids, but hemp seeds. So same plant, different part, feeding the brain in a different way. I think that's so kind of very, very cool.
It is very cool. One of my favorite foods as well. So yeah, so Amanda, some of the conditions that I have some testimonials too that I definitely want to share. But some of the conditions that you've seen parents use medical marijuana with their children, what were some conditions that you've seen in the past down in Texas?
Tourette's is one that really surprised me because I didn't know that was common. But I know a family in Texas, and actually the child is college age now, but they have been activists in the state because of her, because they successfully used it for treating her Tourette's. And then the Mamas group in Texas, the Mamas group in Texas, which is mothers advocating medical marijuana for autism, MAMMAS, autism spectrum.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so they're really active. So autism, of course, and then not just autism, but sometimes autism and seizure disorders are linked, and then certainly that self-injurious behavior. There's actually a lot of activists in Texas that are here because of their kids. Sadly, there's also a lot of cannabis refugee stories in Texas, families that have left the state to seek legal access in another state because Texas is so difficult. So I mean, imagine like you have a family and you have a child that would benefit from this because you've tried it somehow, and you pick up your family and you have to move to another state, and what if you have other children, and what if you have a stable career here, or what if you don't leave, what if you stay here and now you're risking CPS or maybe custody issues if you're in a divorce, or losing your own job because you have to get the cannabis and transport it and distribute it to your kid. It's so much. I mean, the stress on a marriage and a family, and imagine like also the other siblings, if there's other siblings, because it just consumes an illness, a child with a serious illness. I mean, that really consumes the family anyway, but then to add that you're trying to, seek this Schedule 1 drug to help your child, it's just, it's horrendous. So
it is horrendous. It's awful.
One thing I have noticed in Texas that I think is really amazing is all of these parents that are activists and their children have become adults, so they're over 18. often the children are now activists along with their parents, but always the parents don't stop their
Oh,
activism, even though their child is aged out.
100%. I have a
Yeah.
great testimonial. I would love to kind of just kind of
Yeah, please do.
on. This was actually from when the program in Pennsylvania first started, the medical marijuana program in Pennsylvania. But so this is Pennsylvania dad treating autistic daughter with medical marijuana. Like I said, he was from Pennsylvania. He said, there was a time that I didn't know what to do. I was so frustrated, almost hopeless, Jeremy said, because I didn't really have any options and the therapies were working, but very, very slowly. After doing a lot of research, this dad decided to try a less traditional treatment. And he was actually one of the first certified caregivers in Pennsylvania for the medical marijuana program, and it was for his child. So he basically said it just took a lot of courage to step forward. And as a parent, you always want to do what's best for your child. Basically, what he did was he used a little bit of like an RSO out of a syringe, Rick Simpson oil. It's almost like a really black, dark brown, sticky tar kind of a feel to it. He said he basically used the half about the size of a pencil tip. So hardly anything, very low dose. And he administered it to her orally. And the results are basically speaking for themselves because Cora is now verbal.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it said he said not only has her medical marijuana reduced her repetitive behaviors and the meltdowns, it also helped Cora find her voice. So
Mhm.
now when he asks his daughter to say, I love you, daddy, Cora immediately responds with, I love you, daddy.
Oh my gosh.
This is just after 8 doses is when she had
Yeah.
her conversation
Yeah.
with her first conversation with her dad, and it was over a cookie. They had a disagreement
Oh,
over a cookie. How adorable is that? Like, what an amazing testimonial.
yeah. Oh,
What an amazing
well.
testimonial. Yeah.
Mm,
Another one that I have here too. This is from a woman in a PA medical marijuana Facebook group. If anyone's interested, please reach out. We can definitely connect you with those groups in Pennsylvania. There are definitely some that are specific to kids as well. So if anyone is interested in that, please let us know. We'll share that information in the comments after the session. But this is from a woman in Pennsylvania. Her daughter, she's older, but it's a lot of the same symptoms as a younger patient as well. She's autistic, was nonverbal, epileptic. At the time she started the program, she was a full care patient. Her daughter was full care. She was 32 years old and extremely severe conditions, severe uh,
autism.
condition. Yes, exactly. Basically nonverbal. She said her testimonial was, I wanted to let everyone know this morning, I woke up to her yelling, Mommy, Mommy, I need you over and over again. How amazing is that? From someone being nonverbal
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
actually, it's in there. They understand, they know what's going on. It's the processing of it and getting it out. And
Mm-hmm.
marijuana is absolutely amazing for that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hope that people will look at some of the documentaries and the shows I mentioned at the
I'll,
beginning, because
I'll
it's
mention those.
so much.
Yeah.
It's just so much. I mean, I hate to, go on and on about the Zartlers, but I personally know them, and I know Kara, and they're just one family of thousands and thousands that
Yes.
have such a touching
Yeah.
story. It's,
Yes.
talking about you're talking about this older person with autism spectrum disorder. It's I think I was in deep thought about this today, thinking this isn't something that, like Heather always asks me, do you have any slides you want to share? And today I was like, no, I really don't, because this is not really like, hey, let me show you all these graphs and stats, and let me show you all the science, because this is such a conversation that has to be had, because
Mhm.
it's so complex. But helping these children is everyone in, I think, in the space and the industry and activism. I think helping the children is where we all get a lot of our motivation and our drive, because it's our role as adults to help children. And I was thinking about how much money states put into like state funded homes, or where sometimes people they can't care for their children, and so they have to send them to live at a home.
Yep.
And those are state funded. So many of them are state funded.
Right.
And that's the same government that's not allowing us to have access in many states, and certainly federally not allowing us to have access. So think of all the money that goes into these homes and the care for these people that they live in there forever. It's not just, hey, you need to go there now till you get out of this illness. It's not like that. When really, if they just had another tool to manage, just like the 2 stories you mentioned, and then just like the Zartlers as well, if you see the videos of her before they started treating her and then see her now, they can manage it. So it's the irony of that is really kind of infuriating to me.
This is another testimonial too from the same woman with the older daughter. But basically, she shared a video of her singing in our Facebook group. And her quote was, "This is my daughter, Jenny, singing this morning. She completed her 3rd year of medical marijuana and she started to sing and talk. It said she can follow directions. She can get her own coat out of the hallway closet when requested. She helps me carry wash up and down the steps. She can and also talk a little. Her therapist and I are absolutely thrilled." So, I mean, what an improvement in quality of life. And that's what it's about. This is another testimonial too. This is for just CBD oil alone. And we all know, I shouldn't say we all know because that's not true. CBD, whether it's derived from medical marijuana or the hemp plant, is the same thing. So you can get benefits if you're in a state that you're not able to get THC marijuana, higher THC. Why not even give CBD a try? So this testimonial was, my daughter started saying new words after using CBD alone for 2 weeks. It calmed her brain and she could 2 weeks. That's amazing. And that was
you would just
CBD oil.
You would just be kicking yourself like, why didn't I try this 2 years ago?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's exciting. It's a good topic. And it does take, like you said, a lot of courage. But I will say, as a healthcare professional, you have to be your own advocate. You have to speak up. If you have a physician that doesn't want to work with you with medical marijuana,
find a new doctor.
A new doctor. Don't settle. You have to be your own advocate. All it is. Your advocate for your children.
And I have, we were talking about this earlier before we went live, was it because it's federally illegal, there are doctors that are afraid to get too close to the plant because if they violate federal law, they could lose their license. And so I do feel like a lot of doctors more and more are, maybe they're not writing it in your chart, but they're giving you the nod and the go ahead. And is it working for you? Almost like, for years I have had to go to my doctor, and when they say, what supplements are you using? And I have to list all these herbs and spell it for them. Now, some of the herbs I mentioned, and it's already in their system. They're already, ashwagandha, and that's already in there. So I think that, the plant world is becoming a little more accepted in that allopathic medicine, but it's still, you have to find a doctor that either fully supports it or just has a don't ask, don't tell kind of supporting. Right. Yeah. And they're out there. They're certainly out there.
And you have the opposite of that, of them saying, well, I don't, I don't want to suggest that to you at all. That's not, they'll actually make you leave. They will, they won't have you as a patient anymore in their practice. And I've heard horror stories of that happening. So you have to
find a new doctor.
Yeah, you just have to find a new doctor. If you have a doctor that's going to kick you out over medical marijuana,
And I think that a lot of these support groups that they can help you. I think finding a support group that they'll have suggestions on how to find. And if you can't find a doctor, then I'll help you. Tell me, I'll help you find someone.
Exactly. And that's what we're here for, as a support. So, and I think one of the reasons why we wanted to pick this topic was to make sure that people know and have a place to go. I'm going to post all of the various links that you talked about, Amanda, in the beginning, the documentaries.
I'll send them to you.
Yep. We'll post those. We're going to make sure that we get some groups in here. I'll post them mostly just for Pennsylvania. But my suggestion is to find, if you're in another state listening, is to look on Facebook for medical marijuana groups in your specific state. I will
even if it's not legal in your state, there's still support out there. So search.
Exactly. I will tell you, you're going to get a lot of crappy suggestions and education. Let me just say, I see it all the time, and I have to just like let it go, or else I would be behind my computer all day long. And I don't know everything, but there's so much on there that is so simple that's being misinformation out there. So find yourself a good group, or reach out to a professional that is knowledgeable about this subject. For myself, I just had a consultation, I believe 2 weeks ago, with two parents that were going to be caregivers for their son and their minor son. So we went through the whole process of how to get the card and setting them up in the state system, getting them set up with Dr. Folgaris to get the card, their certification. And then also I do some personal shopping for them, so I can go in and help pick some strains out that may work for them that they can try. So they're not going in and picking something right away.
Blind.
Yeah, exactly. So find those people that are knowledgeable. There are so many out there. And like I said, too, if you find your physician is not cannabis friendly, then definitely time to find a new one. So, yeah. Amanda, anything else that you have to share with us tonight?
No, I just really want to stress that it's the prohibition-minded people. It's not going to end. It's just not going to end. Even when we win and it's descheduled or rescheduled, even when we win and everyone has full legal access, some for medical purposes especially, it's still going to exist. We're still going to have prohibitionists. And I think that, pick your battles and choose what's right for yourself and your body and your children, and know that there is an enormous amount of support out there. You just have to look for it.
Exactly. And we are always here for everyone. If you have questions, you can always email info@hempfieldbotanicals.com. I can put my contact information in there. I can share our page on there as well, so that everybody has access to that. And Amanda and I are always willing to help. So we love what we do. We have so much passion for what we do. We see the positive effects every day in our daily lives, not only personally, but with people that we have been helping and supporting, in the process. So it's exciting, and I just really look forward to it, and I can't wait to see where it all goes to. Yeah. So, awesome. Yeah. So Amanda, we are going to take a break for a little bit. This is going to be our last Cannabis Live episode until, I believe, April, because we are moving, if you didn't hear in the beginning. So our whole facility will be moving. Like I said, we're opening up that beautiful new education center. So that will be coming up, and that move will probably be in February. So we're going to have a crazy busy 2 months getting all set up there, in the whole new facility where we manufacture our products at and do education. So it's exciting.
So exciting.
We're going to take a break.
Get it open and get your state warmed up a little bit so that I can come visit.
You will be there. Yes. And just to let everyone know too, Amanda will be coming up Once we do our open house, we're going to have her come up. We'll probably be doing some of our first live education events when she's in house.
It's gonna
So
be fun.
that's exciting. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're really looking forward to it. But in the meantime, please be safe, everyone. Stay well. And Amanda, you and I will be back. I think we said the 6th of April.
Yeah, something like that. I'm gonna do in my group some live Q&A in
Awesome.
March, and then in February, and then March. So I'll keep reminding everyone that we're on break till April here.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right. Well,
bye everybody.
Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you back in April. Take care.